The alarm cut through the market before I even saw her. Red light pulsed along the ceiling vents, and the crowd around me split apart like water around a rock, everyone rushing for the exits without looking back. I was moving with them, pushed along by the current of bodies, when I saw the chain. It ran from a metal post to a woman kneeling on the cold floor. Her skin had a faint blue tint under the flashing light, and her wrists were locked in a thin band that sparked every time she pulled against it. Guards were shouting somewhere behind the stalls, boots hitting metal in fast rhythm, and still nobody stopped. People stepped around her like she was a crate that had fallen off a cart. I stopped. I do not know why. Maybe it was the way her eyes found mine in that half second, sharp and steady, not begging, just watching to see what I would do. Maybe it was the alarm making my hands shake anyway, and some part of me deciding that if the world was already falling apart, I might as well do one thing that mattered before it did. I dropped to my knees beside her and grabbed the band around her wrist. "Do not touch that," she said, her voice low and fast. "It reads pressure, wrong grip and it locks tighter." "Then tell me the right grip." She blinked, surprised, like she had expected me to run the second she spoke. "2 fingers. On the seam. Push toward the post, not away." I did exactly that. The band clicked and loosened just enough for her to slide her hand free. She did the same for the other wrist herself, faster than I could have managed, her fingers moving with the kind of practiced calm that told me this was not the first time she had needed to get out of something fast. "Guards are coming for the merchandise room," she said, already standing. "That means me. We need to move before they reach this row." "Which way?" "Away from the shouting. Fast." We ran. The market was a maze of narrow lanes between stalls selling things I did not have time to look at, fabric and fruit and coils of wire, all of it a blur as we cut left, then right, following the thinning edge of the crowd. Behind us, the shouting grew sharper, and a new sound joined it, a high whine that I recognized from old training videos back on the transport ship. Stun rifles, charging. "They are close," she said, glancing back without slowing down. "How close?" "Close enough that we stop talking and start running faster." We came out of the stalls into an open corridor lined with shuttered shop fronts, all closed for the alarm, all useless as hiding places. At the far end, a heavy door stood half open, revealing a maintenance shaft lit by dim yellow strips. I grabbed her arm and pulled her toward it, and she did not resist, which told me she trusted her instincts about danger more than she trusted strangers grabbing her arm, and right now those instincts agreed with mine. We slipped through the gap in the door just as Boots rounded the corner behind us. I eased the door shut, careful not to let the hinges scrape, and we stood in the dark, breathing hard, listening to the guards pass without slowing down. "That will not last," she whispered. "They will check every open door once they realize I am not in the merchandise room. Then we keep moving. What is your name?" "Selah." "I am Daniel. Which way gets us out of this section?" She pointed down the shaft, past pipes that hissed faintly with steam, toward a ladder bolted to the far wall. "Down. There is a lower transit line that runs under the market. If we reach it before they seal the checkpoints, we can ride it to the docking ring." "You know this station well." "I have been dragged through most of it," she said, already moving toward the ladder. "Not by choice." We climbed down fast, the metal rungs cold under my hands, and dropped into a narrow tunnel that smelled like oil and old dust. A faint rumble came from somewhere ahead, a transit car approaching on its track, and Selah broke into a run toward the sound without waiting to see if I would follow. I followed. The car was already slowing at the platform when we reached it, doors sliding open with a tired hiss. We jumped in just as they began to close, and for one long second neither of us said anything, just stood there catching our breath while the car lurched forward into the dark. "You did not have to stop," she said finally. "I know. Most humans do not." "Most people do not," I said. "It is not just a human thing." She studied me for a moment, the same sharp look she had given me back on the market floor, like she was still deciding whether I was worth the risk she had just taken. "The guards will report a missing item. Station security will lock every dock within minutes. If we do not reach a ship before that happens, we will be trapped here until they find us. I have a ship, small transport, docked at Ring 4. Ring 4 is on the far side. Then we better hope this car is fast." It was fast, but not fast enough. Halfway through the tunnel, the lights along the track shifted from white to red, and a voice crackled over a hidden speaker, flat and mechanical, announcing a full lockdown of all docking rings. Selah's shoulders tensed. "They know," she said. "Every door on this station is about to seal." "Every door?" "Except emergency overrides. Those stay open a little longer, for evacuation protocols. If we can trigger one, we might slip through before the seal finishes." "Can you trigger one?" I can try. I used to work maintenance codes before I was taken. If the system has not been changed, I might still know the pattern. The car pulled into a platform lit by flickering emergency strips, and we jumped out before it had fully stopped moving. Ahead, a heavy blast door blocked the corridor, its edges already glowing faintly as the seal mechanism began to engage. Sayla ran to a panel beside it and tore off the cover, exposing a tangle of wires and a small keypad. "Watch the corridor," she said, not looking up. "Tell me if anyone comes." I turned and kept my eyes on the tunnel behind us, my heart pounding louder than the hum of the door. For a moment there was nothing, just the distant rumble of the station and the quick click of Sayla's fingers against the panel. Then I heard footsteps. "Someone is coming," I said. "How many?" "I cannot tell. Sounds like more than one. I need 30 more seconds." "We might not have 30 seconds." The footsteps grew louder, boots on metal, moving with the steady pace of people who knew exactly where they were going. I pressed myself against the wall beside the door, scanning for anything I could use to slow them down, and my eyes landed on a fire suppression canister mounted near the platform. I grabbed it without thinking too hard about the plan and pulled the pin. "Whatever that is doing," Sayla said, still working the panel, "make it fast." I twisted the nozzle and aimed it down the corridor just as two guards came around the bend. A thick white mist burst out, filling the tunnel in seconds, and their shouts turned confused as they lost sight of everything ahead of them. I dropped the canister and grabbed Sayla's arm. "Now would be a good time to finish." "I am finished," she said, and the panel beeped once, a soft green light replacing the red. The blast door shuddered and slid open just enough for us to slip through sideways. We pushed through the gap and kept running as the guards' shouts faded behind us into the mist. The corridor beyond opened into a wider passage that curved along the outer wall of the station, and through the reinforced windows I could see the dark stretch of space outside, dotted with the lights of docked ships. Ring 4 was close now, close enough that I could see the outline of my transport through the haze of distant traffic. "There," I said, pointing. "That one. It looks small. It is fast. That matters more right now." We reached the airlock just as another alarm sounded, this one different, a rising pulse that Sayla flinched at harder than the first. "That is the full station lockdown," she said. "Every remaining door seals in less than a minute." "Then we better not be standing here in a minute." The airlock door was already grinding shut, the gap narrowing with slow mechanical certainty. I sprinted the last stretch and threw myself sideways through the shrinking opening, twisting to reach back and pull Sayla through right behind me. The door sealed with a heavy thud the instant she cleared it, so close that it caught the edge of her sleeve and held it for a second before she yanked free. Inside the ship, I dropped into the pilot seat and slammed my hand against the ignition panel, the engines waking with a low growl that felt like the best sound I had ever heard. Sayla strapped into the seat beside me, still catching her breath, watching the docking clamp release through the front viewport. "They will send ships after us," she said. "The station does not let cargo like me leave without a fight. I am not cargo either. Neither are you, not anymore." We pulled away from the ring, and almost immediately a proximity alert chimed on the console, sharp and insistent. Two fighters had broken from a patrol formation near the station and were curving toward us, closing fast. "Hold on," I said. I pushed the throttle forward and the ship surged, pressing us both back into our seats. The fighters matched our speed, gaining slightly, and a warning light flashed as their targeting systems locked onto us from behind. I banked hard to the left, cutting between two slow-moving cargo haulers, using their bulk to break the lock just long enough to buy us a few seconds. "There is a debris field ahead," Sayla said, pointing to a cluster of shapes on the console display. "Old wreckage from a mining accident. If we go through it, they will have to slow down or risk their hulls. And we will not? We will risk it too, but I think you are the kind of pilot who likes risk." I almost laughed despite everything. "You have known me for 10 minutes. Long enough." I aimed the ship toward the field and pushed the throttle further, weaving between broken hull sections and drifting metal frames as the fighters fell back behind us, forced to slow their approach. One of them clipped a piece of drifting debris and spun off course, and the second dropped back to avoid the same mistake, giving us just enough distance to reach the far edge of the field and pull clear. "They are falling back," Sayla said, watching the display. "Not for long. They will radio for reinforcements the second they can. Then we need distance, fast." I found a clear heading away from the station and pushed the engines as hard as they would go, watching the fighters shrink behind us until they were only faint dots against the dark. The proximity alert finally fell silent, and for the first time since the alarm had first sounded in the market, the ship was quiet except for the low hum of the engines. Sayla leaned back in her seat and closed her eyes for a moment, and I let the silence sit there, giving her the space to breathe after however long she had spent without any space to breathe at all. You could have left me, she said eventually, not opening her eyes. When the alarm went off, you could have kept walking, like everyone else. I thought about it for exactly no time at all. Why? Because nobody else was going to stop. And once I saw that, I could not make myself be one more person who did not. She opened her eyes and looked at me, and this time there was something different in her expression, something that had not been there back in the market, when she was still deciding what kind of stranger I was. Where are we going now? She asked. Wherever you want. I was heading toward the outer colonies next, but that can wait. You have spent long enough going wherever someone else decided. Your turn to choose. She was quiet for a moment, watching the stars shift slowly across the viewport as the ship settled into a steady course. I have a sister, she said. 2 systems from here. I do not know if she is still there, or if she is even still alive. I have not been able to find out for a long time. Then that is where we go first. You do not know her. You do not know if it is dangerous. I did not know you either, an hour ago, I said. Did not stop me then. She almost smiled at that, the first real crack in the guarded look she had carried since the market. Outside, the station was nothing but a distant point of light behind us, shrinking smaller with every second. And ahead of us, the stars stretched out in every direction, open and unclaimed and full of whatever came next. Daniel, she said, testing the name again, like she wanted to make sure she had it right. Thank you for stopping. Thank you for trusting me enough to run. She looked out at the stars, and for the first time since I had seen her kneeling on that cold floor, her shoulders were not braced for the next blow, not waiting for the next command, not counting down to whatever came after the chain. She was simply sitting there, free, watching the same sky I was watching, and for now that was enough for both of us. The ship pushed on into the dark, engines humming steady beneath us, carrying 2 strangers who had become something else entirely in the space of 1 hour, toward a sister who might still be waiting, and toward whatever waited beyond that, unwritten and unknown, but finally, for Selah, entirely her own to choose.